Hi, I'm Michelle, Director of Educational Content and Programs at Shape America. And if you want to learn more about health and physical education, you are going to love Toy Talk Tuesdays. And I'm not talking about these kinds of toys. I'm talking about Teachers of the Year. Shape America Teachers of the Year represent the best adapted physical education, dance, health, and physical education teachers in the United States, and you get to hear directly from them. So make sure that you subscribe so you don't miss an episode, and be sure to comment below with the tips and resources you want to hear about most. If you're interested in learning about how to become a Shape America Teacher of the Year, just make sure to click the link right here below. Thanks so much for watching. Hi, everyone, and welcome to Toy Talk Tuesday. I'm Michelle Carter, Director of Educational Content and Programs at Shape America, and I'm so happy to serve as today's host. Toy Talk Tuesday is a bi-weekly series of interviews about topics in health and physical education with Shape America's National and District Teachers of the Year. And today's segment will focus on assessment in health education and physical education. And we will be sharing activities, tips, tricks that you can immediately implement in your classroom. And today I'm joined by Mary McCarley and Cassie Brooks, and I will give them each an opportunity to briefly introduce themselves.
Hi everyone, my name is Mary McCarley, and I am the 2016 Shape America Southern District Health Education Teacher of the Year, and I currently work with Goodheart-Willcox as the Health Education Content Specialist. I'm the co-author of their middle school health textbook. I was a teacher for 15 years in Charlotte-Mecklenburg schools as a high school health teacher, and I now provide professional development and training for our middle school and high school health titles.
And I'm Cassie Brooks, and I'm a health and physical education teacher, 21 years now at Brownsburg West Middle School in Indiana. And I am the 2018 Midwest District Health Education Teacher of the Year, and I teach about half and half health and PE.
Thank you so much to both of you being here. These are two amazing, knowledgeable ladies in health education and physical education, and so I know what they are going to be sharing today is going to be really valuable. So, and as members of the Shape America Teacher of the Year community, you both have the unique platform to share your expertise, talents, and leadership with health and physical education teachers across the country. And we're so proud of your accomplishments, and we really appreciate you participating today. And I'm so excited to hear more about the topic. Assessment is always something that I think is really important for teachers. And so we have a lot to talk about, and I don't want to waste too much time, so I'm going to go ahead and hand it to Mary to kick us off.
Thanks so much, Michelle. And today I'm going to cover 3 assessment ideas. And if you do have any follow-up questions or you want clarification, please feel free to send me an email. But first, let's start with this one. I love project-based learning. And as a teacher, I enjoyed creating projects, but when I created projects, it was always important for me to create it in such a way that increased student motivation, it increased personal investment, and also was differentiated by their learning style. And then by differentiating by learning style, the students were more invested in the project. And what I found is that I actually received higher quality of work when they could work within their learning style. So what you see here is a project choice board. And project choice boards are used among many different subject areas, and it allows students to choose the type of project or the type of product that they want to create. So when I create a project, I like to start with something that captivates their attention. And so, for example, imagine that the use of vaping devices is on the rise at your school. The unexpected hospitalization of a classmate due to vaping has shocked the students at your school. Raise awareness for the harmful effects of vaping by creating a product to educate students at your school with the goal of decreasing vaping and encouraging a tobacco-free life. So I've started with an introduction to try to capture their attention. Now it's time for the students to choose a product. So we do know that some students love to create posters while others maybe learn by speaking and would enjoy doing a video public service announcement, maybe for the morning announcements, while others like to write, and they may choose in the bottom right-hand corner an opinion or editorial article for the school newspaper or website. And of course, there's always those super techie kids that would love to design a website or maybe even write influential social media posts. So the students can choose their product. Now it's time for them to have the requirements. So you can see that I'm not differentiating by academic ability, but rather than their learning style, because the requirements for all students are the same. And the requirements would be based on your learning outcomes for that particular topic or that chapter or that unit. In this situation, this project would be reinforcing the skill of comprehending concepts. Now, the implementation part of this project is going to be advocacy. So this is just one example of how you can take a project, if you enjoy project-based learning in your class, and then rather than assigning maybe a poster or a flyer for all students to do the same thing, just provide them a choice board so that they can choose the type of product that they want to create. So this was example number one. So my second example is an example on how to differentiate skill practice, which sometimes I find difficult to differentiate practice of skills. So I use the example of refusal skills. So what you see on the screen is actually the dessert section of what I call my menus. And menus, if you've never used them in a class before, it's a student-directed performance task. And there's appetizers, there's entrees, and then there's dessert. So you're only seeing the dessert section because this is the skill practice. And you can see here that students are practicing the skill of refusal. And so all three scenarios are the same. So with the partner, they're going to come up with 3 pressure lines that you may hear at some time during your middle school years or high school years to convince you to smoke or vape. And they're going to have to write a response to that pressure line using effective and assertive communication. So we know that all students don't learn the same, and they don't have the same comfort level when it comes to practicing skills. So these 2 students who choose option number 1 are going to be the 2 students who want to practice, but they don't want to perform for the class. So they're comfortable practicing with a partner, but they're going to be the 2 that practice with a partner. Then they're going to turn in their pressure lines and their responses to the teacher, and they'll never perform for the class. The second option is the exact same assignment, but this is going to be great for those 2 students who want to practice, but rather than turning in the assignment for the teacher, they are just going to demonstrate, not stand up in front of the class, but just like raise their hand. They're going to demonstrate their refusal lines for the class. And then, of course, we have the 2 students who will choose option number 3 are the ones who like to perform. That's how they learn. They learn by doing. So these are the 2 students who are not going to write anything down on paper, but rather they're going to work together to create some sort of skit. Still doing the same assignment, but they would perform their skit for the class. So this is an example or a strategy, I guess, of how you can differentiate skills practice. So in my time, I wanted to share one more assessment, and this is probably definitely my favorite of the 3, and is probably what I am most proud of in my 15 years of teaching, is what I called my Let's Talk series. So I started this as my first year of teaching. I realized that the amount of time that I was given to teach health just never seemed like enough time. And I couldn't figure out how in 9 weeks I was going to cover all the standards and reinforce, well, first learn skill, then practice skill, then reinforce skill. And it just didn't seem like enough time. So I realized I needed to reach out to the trusted adults, to the guardians, to the parents. And by doing so, it would extend learning home. It would reinforce those important conversations. It would strengthen support systems. So this is my Let's Talk homework series. And it's actually now part of both our middle school and our high school program. And in part 1, so these are, think of them as short homework assignments, and they can take as little as 20 minutes. Although most of my students say that these 20-minute homework assignments often end up taking 2 hours because their parents, it's almost like they finally have a chance to talk, and they end up, instead of choosing between the 2 scenarios or just choosing 2 discussion questions, they end up talking about both scenarios and all 4 or all 8 discussion questions. So, but my students say that it's never a waste of time, and it's the kind of conversations they need. So in part 1, I always try to provide 2 scenarios. So together, the child and the parent or guardian or trusted adult would read the following 2 scenarios and just choose one. What would you do? Create a plan if you're ever in this situation. And then the idea is they have a conversation about it. The child is the one that writes the paragraph. I've just cut off the response line so that you could clearly see this presentation. And the child writes the paragraph. And then in part 2, it just says discuss 2 of the questions. And I always try to provide choice. I've provided 4 in this case. And then they would talk about 2. The child is the one that writes the summary, and then the parent, guardian, or trusted adult signs the pledge. So if you've been looking for the opportunity or a way to extend learning home and reinforce what you're teaching in class and also skills practice, I strongly suggest something like this. I've definitely had a lot of success in my classroom. And like I mentioned, it's probably what I'm most proud of in my 15 years of teaching. So Michelle, I appreciate the time. And now I'm going to pass it to Cassie.
Wonderful, Mary. Thank you so much for sharing all those really valuable strategies. I can't wait to get going with those in my own class. So I wanted to switch gears a minute and talk a little bit about physical education. And a lot of times when we think of assessment as teachers, we often think of assessment of learning, assessment of progress, assessment of skill. And I want to challenge people to think of assessment for learning. So how we do this in my school is we use fitness testing as a way to teach goal setting and growth mindset. So for us, that's kind of been the big determining factor in kids' success in physical activity settings, is whether they feel that they have the confidence to do something. Whether they think they can do it or not often makes a big difference on whether they're excited to join into an activity, if they're willing to try something new, and really willing to put in good effort toward their performance, whatever the skill or activity might be. So if we're working toward physical literacy and having students who are enjoying movement and feel confident in their movement skills throughout life, and they're going to then carry that forward into adulthood, we really need to work to make sure everyone understands I can get better at something if I work toward it. And we have a lot of kids who come in, and I'm sure many of you have seen this too, where they've had very little preparation for our class. Maybe they haven't had a lot of movement at home. Maybe they're in a family where they don't do a lot of getting out and playing catch and running around. And so they don't have very solid movement patterns that others might have. Maybe they haven't had as many opportunities for outdoor or outside sports participation and camps and activities. And so when those kids come into a PE class, it can be really intimidating, and they can kind of feel like, I'm not going to measure up to my peers. And so we spend a lot of time before we do our first pre-test of any fitness activities, which typically in the past has been PACER, but this year, considering we're in person, but we're wearing masks most of the time, we decided to go a little bit different route. We're doing a curl-ups assessment, and we're also toying around with some planking assessments. But the idea is, whether you're working for time or a number, you're trying to see where you are right now, but that's only for you. That's not to compare you with everybody else. So we have students record the very first time what they got, and whatever number or time that they get to, that's something to know. Hey, that's where I am. It's just a pre-assessment, just like you might do a checkup, and there's some things that you need to improve upon, and you can get better. And the awesome thing in our class is we're here for you. We're here to teach and to help and to show you how to get better at things. So you don't have to worry about the person next to you, because whether they did a stronger performance or less performance than you, it doesn't matter. This is about you versus you versus you. And then each month we come back and we reassess. We give kids strategies for working on it. We go through, how do I teach my mind to keep going and make my body keep going when I really, really just want to give up because it's hard. So we get them through that growth mindset as we go along. How can we encourage the people around us when they feel like giving up? And so we can use it as kind of a social emotional learning tool as well. Not only are we working on managing our own thoughts and feelings and learning how to grow through what we're going through, but we're also helping the ones that are around us. So we really use our assessment not to put a grade in the grade book. We put like a 10-point assignment in the grade book just so the kids have a record of it, but out of like 300 points that they might have in a quarter, it really doesn't count for anything. It's just there to show their progress. And we continually go back to, you can make progress. And we may have to modify things a little bit to make it work for a student's particular needs. However, all students are going to show growth, and that's something to be proud of. So I just want to encourage you all to remember that assessment isn't just of learning to show where we ended up, but also it's a tool that can be used, especially when there's some self-assessment or some regular periodic assessment going on, where students can measure their growth in time and see how much they've improved and how much they can improve with that growth mindset.
Thank you so much, Cassie and Mary. I really love that growth mindset and the connection with the SEL piece, because even with around self-management and the self-discipline piece and self-motivation, how do you motivate yourself to do things when you really don't feel like it, or do, self-discipline, those kinds of things. And Mary, I really love that whole concept of letting students choose how they're going to show that they know a skill, for them to practice a skill, and really taking ownership in that engagement piece. So I really encourage, thank you for both of you being here. And so on behalf of Shape America and the Shape America Teacher of the Year Partner Network, thank you, Mary, thank you, Cassie, for sharing these activities and these tips and tricks. And please be sure to visit www.shapeamerica.org to check out our bi-weekly Toy Talk Tuesday segments for more great resources from our Shape America Teacher of the Year community. And so with that, I'll let you all get back to your evening, and thank you so much. If you have any ideas out there watching about what you want to hear, be sure to comment on YouTube. You can email Cassie and Mary if you have any follow-up questions. You can always contact us as well here at Shape America. So thank you, everybody.